We are live from the Media One studios on Jefferson Road. Open phone lines right now. We're going to talk Cleveland Browns draft. 440-997-9797. Or join us in the chat, facebook.com/AOP radio. The latest rumor right now that's circulating, there's a couple of message boards. Obviously, message boards are the gospel in all things sports, that are talking about an alleged interest in the Browns trading up to the number 2 spot so that they can try to go after RG3. And I'm curious as to the direction that you believe, listeners, that the Cleveland Browns should go. I have a problem with that. I don't think RG3 is... First of all, what is the point in stockpiling the picks that we have if you're going to go back up and get a quarterback that you really don't know? He's obviously far less of a guaranteed commodity than an Andrew Luck. There are questions about whether or not he reads defenses at a professional level, or whether he has the capability to read them at a professional level. He's already developed somewhat by the tape watchers of a reputation to be a guy who likes to be one read and then either check down, or one read and then leave the pocket. And obviously that's not the type of guy that you want to build an offense, West Coast or any other kind around. The other major concern that I have is there's guys out there that are making the argument that look how much of an influence Cam Newton has made, because he has both a powerful arm and legs to leave the pocket. A lot of people have raised that question as well. And there's a huge problem with that comparison, and that is that RG3 is not comparable physically to Cam Newton in any way, shape, or form. He's comparable to Mike Vick, and obviously we've seen the issues with Mike Vick, and just from a durability standpoint, staying on the field and being able to play at a consistently high level, being that he's been injured as often as he has. So I don't know why you want a guy that's 5'11" leaving the pocket, and then if you go to his passing skills and you're talking about a guy who dumps the ball off after one read, I don't think this is a guy that you trade up for. I think this is a guy that if he falls into your lap at a value spot, if you could trade down a couple of picks and get something. But, that flashy game tape and some of his highlights and statistics, to me, are not enough to get me to get rid of the picks that I've worked so hard to accumulate and been so patient with a gamble with what they did last year with Atlanta. Tim, welcome to the Angle of Pursuit. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you? I think that would be the most stupidest thing they could do right now is trade up and go after RG3. I think they ought to really look later on getting a kid, if he is coming out, the one from Alabama. The kid's taller. I think he can throw the ball better. You need somebody who can throw the ball. And RG3, I never did. I don't know how he won the Heisman, really.
Well, he has sort of the Heisman makeup in the sense that he's got big-time plays and he has all the physical gifts that Heisman voters like. But the problem is that those things don't necessarily translate to pro-style offenses, and you're not necessarily going to lead an NFL franchise with that skill set. I mean, defenses are a lot more sophisticated in the NFL than they are in college, especially against Baylor,
Oh, really? I know.
All right.
I just, like I said, if they did that, then here we are right back where we are again. They got to get that offensive line, and they need to find a wide receiver that's going to catch the ball.
Yeah, well, here's the point that I see, Tim. If we don't have weapons now offensively for a guy like Colt McCoy to throw to, then we're certainly not going to have weapons for RG3 next year, which tells me that he has no weapons to get rid of the ball, and then his offensive line isn't great, and he has a propensity to run as it is because he's so athletic. You're going to see a guy who's going to be running for his life most of next season rather than developing any kind of pass coverage breakdown. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I think it's a very bad maneuver to go with a guy like that with a pick so high, like the 4th pick.
Right, Colt's been doing that all season himself.
Yeah, with a lot less skill set. Absolutely. Thanks for the call, Tim.
All right.
I can't look at that fit, Cody, and say that this is a guy who stands a substantial chance to really do much in the next year or two while this team is trying to put some kind of talent around him. He'll be struggling to stay healthy, to stay upright. And in the meantime, you're going to have a situation where they're going to have to put talent around him, and we still aren't 100%. I don't think there's anybody that can tell me you're 100% positive what Colt McCoy is. There's plenty of people that say they don't know for sure. There's plenty of people that tell me that they have hunches. I mean, all the talking heads think that they have an inside track of some kind. But again, nobody's got a 100% guarantee. I said in 8 points that I kind of find it to be funny, but you're told that this is a league that is strictly based around how good the quarterback is. And out of the last 4 teams, we only have one truly elite quarterback, that's Tom Brady, and one very good quarterback. He's been solid, and he's already made it to one Super Bowl in Eli Manning. The other 2 guys, frankly, Flacco is average at best, and when you look at the weapons that have been around him, he's an underachiever. And Alex Smith is 7 years in, and he's barely competent now. Now, you can get into a bunch of arguments about what was around him and
7 different offensive coordinators.
7 OCs in 7 years. I'm not making that argument, but at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. It's just what you are and what you aren't. And, Flacco is, to me, an underachiever based on what he's had around him. And Alex Smith hasn't lit the world on fire, and yet these guys are in the championship games in their respective conferences. So, I think I'm going to give you the breakdown that I would like to see. And again, join the phone conversation, 440-997-9797. To me, I'm fine with taking Blackman at number 4. He's got a TO type build. He's big. He's powerful. He's strong. He doesn't have the top end speed that some of these guys have, that we've seen in the past. But he's still definitely fast enough and definitely big and strong enough to create separation. He's an instant weapon right out of the backfield. And now you can plug Blackman in as your starter. And similar to the way that you do with starting pitchers, when you're one, you bring in an ace pitcher. Your second best pitcher now is going up against number 2s. Your third is going up against, you know what I mean? You're bumping everybody down a spot. And so that gives you Greg Little facing the second or third best DBs on the field. And, whoever else is out there, Muhammad Massaquoi, Josh Cribbs, Carlton Mitchell, it doesn't matter which guy, Jordan Norwood, there's a lot of other players there. We're going to shift every single one of those players down a slot, and they're going to be facing a lesser defender, which is going to give them a greater opportunity. So, you're impacting your entire wide receiving core with a move like that. And then what you do is you come back, and in my opinion, barring a trade or any kind of movement, I think that with that pick that they got from Atlanta at 20, you go hard after the best available offensive lineman that you can plug into the right side and finally take care of a position that has been in absolute disarray since the retirement of Ryan Tucker. I mean, it has been a mess there forever. Welcome to the Angle of Pursuit. Who's this?
It's Jim. What's going on, man?
Hey, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I agree. A lot of people have been hating on Colt McCoy, and my take on Colt is simply if you give him time, just like with any quarterback, time to go through his progressions, because I think he's smart enough to go through his progressions, and he's not been able to throw the ball really downfield all that much, and the reason why is because he's not as tall as Seneca Wallace, and he's got his offensive line closing around him. So that's my take on it. I think that Colt McCoy can be a great quarterback, especially for the West Coast fit, where you've got to go through progression 1, progression 2, progression 3, progression 4, make a decision. We've got tight ends in place, and unfortunately, we're not able to use what we have as far as receivers go because they're either young or they're getting concussed nonstop. And I think that we have a good guy in Little. I think with the proper development, he'll be fine. But I think we need to go for a home run on wide receiver, or at least make the attempt, because no offense, without anybody to throw to, you can't constantly throw it to the tight ends. I understand that the tight ends are an integral part of the West Coast system as we're taught to believe on it, but the simple fact is it's not good enough. We need receivers to throw to as well,
Well, Jim, don't you think that there are, you look at the receivers that are there, and there's some of them have different pieces and parts to their game, certain nuances that have value. Carlton Mitchell's very fast, and Greg Little can play a little bit out of the backfield, and they've used him in especially in college, they used him a lot on reverses and different trick plays.
Yeah, and when he would catch the football too, he's able to go for yards after the catch. That's what I love the most about Little in general. I mean, he's not afraid to hit somebody. I mean, in the Steelers game, he took a couple of the linebackers clean out of their shoes just blocking, and I love that about the kid. I think, if we can get his hands fixed, which is the biggest problem with I think Cleveland led or was one of the leaders in dropped passes. But part of that's going to be fixed when you get the proper receiving core in there. Maybe pick up a solid vet from free agency and get a young superstar that might have a potential to be one of the best in the NFL.
Jim, what makes you think, you made the remark that you think Colt McCoy could still be, and the word that you used is great. What makes you think that he can be great? My concern is I think that the guy has all the ability to be a solid quarterback in this league, but he lacks some of the really important measurables. He is short. His arm isn't particularly strong. I think he can be good, but you said the word great. Is there something that I'm missing?
Well, to me, when I see him play, okay, and I see the type of movement he has, I don't know why, and maybe this is just me being delusional, but I see a lot of the abilities that Drew Brees has. Drew Brees does not have that huge an arm. He has the proper core around him, and they make him look a lot better. Now, granted, he got snuffed in the playoffs this year, but the bottom line is he's a Super Bowl champion. He's able to move out of the pocket. If he has to, he can pick up and run. And if we have the right offensive sets in, we can give Colt McCoy the same chances, and he's not afraid to use his legs either. And I keep thinking about all the games that I've watched this season where all of the receivers, tight ends, receivers, running backs out of the backfield who have actually dropped passes where they just, were sitting lame duck style and just not doing their job. Now, granted, Colt maybe could have thrown a better ball in certain situations, but for the most part, it's hitting him in the shoulders and in the hands and in the arms. So the bottom line is the receivers need to make those catches, and if they're not doing it, we need to get somebody better who will.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate the call.
Take her easy.
Good points, and I think that McCoy has the potential, again, to be a solid quarterback. I'm not bashing the kid. He needs more time we need to see a full season of him under center with some semblance of an offensive line. If he drops back and he has time and he can't find even average receivers, then fine, that's on him. I don't have a problem with that. But running for your life and throwing to guys that aren't capable of achieving separation, to me, is not the best mark of whether or not this kid's good. Now, if I'm missing something, feel free to let me know that you can definitively tell me that he is incapable of being a solid quarterback. I think that you can build an NFL football team a lot of ways, and I think that all of these, big-time ESPN analysts that tell you that you can't survive in this league without an Aaron Rodgers. First of all, the league will never have 32 Aaron Rodgers. It's not going to happen because guys like that are extremely rare. And if you look yourself in the mirror and you're honest to yourself about how many truly elite quarterbacks that there are in this league, you've got Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Peyton Manning when he's healthy. A half step below them are Big Ben and Eli Manning. And I think you go another step down before you get to Phillip Rivers, a guy with a great arm who, to me, is just not elite. I see the guy constantly chucking up passes and hoping that Antonio Gates or Vincent Jackson can go up and get it in traffic. You watch a guy like Peyton Manning, a guy like Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, the back shoulder throw. The ball hitting guys in the hands, in stride, because they made an adjustment at the line of scrimmage. They know what they're doing. So this idea that you need this ultra elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl, to me, it's a fallacy. And there's a bunch of capable quarterbacks. There's a bunch of guys like Joe Flacco and Alex Smith, and there's a bunch of guys that can quarterback in this league, but they're not changing the game like the top 4 guys are. And I think that you'll struggle to find any era where there was more than 4 or 5 truly elite caliber quarterbacks. You need to look at providing pieces around them that can offset their weaknesses, having a solid defense and solid offensive lines so that the game stay within reach at all times, and then give guys a chance to make a play, whether it's a system that, short passes like the West Coast and really dynamic receivers that can get a lot of yards after catch, or a good bruising ground game that can continue to control the pace of a game. I mean, that's how you win, by putting pieces around guys. This fallacy of ultra-elite quarterbacks being everywhere all over the place, it's just not true. It's not accurate.